Welcome to The Explainer. Now, if you're a brand manager, you know you're always looking for that edge, right? Well, today we're going to unpack a really powerful science-backed strategy. It's all about using nature in your web design, not just to make things look pretty, but to actually directly drive performance.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll talk about a super common problem that might be hurting your user experience as we speak. Then, we'll get into the fascinating psychology behind why nature is the solution. And after that, we'll get right to the good stuff, what this means for your bottom line, and a practical guide you can start using like today. All right, first up, let's identify the problem. So many professional websites, and hey, maybe even yours, are built with this philosophy of being super clean and functional. And that's great. But it can also create this sort of invisible barrier for your users. I mean, think about it, right? We all work so hard to make our websites clean, efficient, professional. But in that push for minimalist function, we often end up with something we can call functional sterility. And what that means is, well, we've created these digital spaces that just feel cold, impersonal. They unknowingly push users away because they're missing a core piece of what makes us, well, human.
And listen, this is not just about looks. It's a really critical user experience problem. This functional sterility isn't just cold, it's actually mentally exhausting for your users. It creates a high cognitive load. But on the flip side, an organic connection is restorative. It doesn't just look better, it genuinely feels better to interact with. So why should you, as a brand manager, care about this digital disconnect? Well, the answer is actually rooted in our biology. There's this incredibly powerful scientific concept that explains our deep, hardwired response to the natural world. It's a concept called biophilia, and what it suggests is that our attraction to nature, it's not just a preference, it's a genetic tendency. We are literally hardwired to look for and feel good around natural things. It's a fundamental human drive that, let's be honest, the vast majority of digital experiences just completely ignore. And this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see the tangible effects right here. See, integrating nature into your website isn't just window dressing. It's a strategic move. You're creating a less stressful, more positive user experience that actually measurably improves their cognitive function and even their mood. Okay, so let's get a bit more specific. How do we take this cool, high-level theory and turn it into a practical tool you can actually use? Well, it all comes down to understanding the science of how these organic forms capture and hold our attention. So let's look at how this actually works. You could say nature has its own algorithms for optimization, right? And our brains are uniquely tuned to pick up on them. So when we use these natural patterns in our design, we can trigger this positive subconscious response that, you guessed it, directly benefits your website's performance. Now, this is absolutely fascinating. The concept is called fractal fluency. Fractals, you've seen these. They're those complex, repeating patterns you see everywhere in nature. Think of a fern or a snowflake. Turns out our brains are just built to process these things efficiently, and doing so creates this amazing state of relaxed engagement, which holds our attention without making us feel tired. And here is the crucial link for you as a brand manager. That positive, calm feeling a user gets from your design, it gets directly transferred onto how they feel about your products and services. It's really that simple. They feel good on your site, so they feel good about your brand. Okay, let's get to the part that every brand manager is waiting for. How does a nice background pattern translate into real, measurable business results? How does this actually impact your KPIs? And believe me, this isn't just some fluffy theory. When you translate that feeling of relaxed engagement into your design, you get a whole suite of measurable benefits. We're talking about directly moving the needle on your most important KPIs, everything from engagement all the way to conversions. So, first up, engagement. Remember that relaxed engagement we just talked about? Well, it keeps users on your site. It's simple. They're just naturally more inclined to stick around and explore a little. And what does that mean for you? Lower bounce rates and higher time on page. Boom. Next up, brand perception. The specific natural images or patterns you choose, they become a really powerful nonverbal part of your brand's story. Think about it. Minimalist orchids can signal luxury, right? But bold sunflowers might communicate warmth and accessibility. It's like a strategic shortcut to creating an emotional connection. And finally, the big one, conversion rates. By putting your users in a positive, more receptive state of mind, you're subtly reducing that friction that gets in the way of them making a decision. And that makes them way more likely to respond to your call to action, whether that's hitting add to cart or sign up.
All right, so you're probably thinking, okay, I'm sold. How do I actually do this? Let's put it all together. Here's a clear, actionable guide for implementing this strategy so it feels modern, professional, and totally true to your brand. Now, one of the first questions I always get from brand managers is, won't this feel, a little dated or unprofessional? And that's a totally fair question, but it's a complete misconception. It's really rooted in those old low-res designs from the early days of the web. The modern approach is all about sophistication.
See, by strategically controlling just three things, your color palette, the pattern style, and the scale and placement, you can get a really sophisticated, gender-neutral look. Look, this isn't about slapping a bunch of daisies on your B2B services site. It's about adding a subtle layer of quality and detail that actually enhances your professional brand identity. And this table just shows you how incredibly versatile this approach is. It is not a one-size-fits-all style. Think of it more like a flexible toolkit. You can calibrate it precisely to reinforce the exact brand identity you're trying to build, whether you're a cutting-edge tech startup or a trusted heritage brand. And last but not least, let's talk best practices. Think of these as the four crucial guardrails to make sure you get this right. Number one, it has to serve a purpose, not just create clutter. 2, readability is king. Your text has to be crystal clear. 3, performance is absolutely non-negotiable, so optimize those images. And 4, keep it consistent across your whole site. Follow these rules and you'll get all the aesthetic benefits without ever sacrificing usability. So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. Biophilic design isn't just some fleeting stylistic trend. It is a sophisticated, evidence-based strategy. What you're doing is tapping into a deep, hardwired human connection to build digital experiences that are more resonant, more memorable, and at the end of the day, just plain more effective. So we'll leave you with a final question to think about. Take a hard look at your own brand's digital world and ask yourself, is it just a sterile container for information, or could it be something more? Could it be an experience that is truly and strategically alive?